Let me know, are we on? Okay, great. Hi, good evening. I'm gonna call the January 15th, 2025 Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District to order at 6 p.m. I'm gonna ask that we go around the room and introduce ourselves for those folks who are watching at home. And I'm gonna start with Principal Grisone.
Tim Rizone, Hollis Brookline High School Principal.
Patrick West, Middle School Principal.
Beth Williams, School Board.
Rob Mann, School Board.
Kate Stoll, School Board.
Holly Durlow Babcock School Board. That's you.
Andy Corey, Superintendent.
Lauren DeGennaro, Director of Student Services.
Linda Sherwood, Director of Business Operations.
Krista Whalen, School Board.
Great, thank you very much. So in terms of our agenda, the first thing is, do we have any agenda adjustments? I think this is probably an adjustment.
We have, and it was passed out to you, Mr. Grisone passed a document regarding the robotics field trip that was passed out to you, so we'll be looking at that. And just for a time point of view, if we are running early or moving quicker than the agenda, the public hearing can't start till 6:30, so we'll just simply move up the principal's reports to close any gap that we have to stay efficient.
Okay, sounds good.
Great,
Okay.
that sounds perfect. Okay, moving on, notifications of nominations, resignations, and correspondence.
There are none at this time.
Great, thank you. Dawn is doing a great job keeping track of who has volunteered to be process observers according to my schedule, and she's been checking in with me. And unfortunately, she asked me if it was Cindy's turn, and Cindy's not here, and Tom Solon is unable to be here, so he was the person I chose, but he's not here. So unfortunately, I didn't know he wasn't coming. So I need a process observer.
I will do.
Krista, thank you. That's so great. So Krista's now the process observer. Great. All right, so we need to approve some minutes.
Because I was the only one looking at you.
Well, I try not to. But this is the problem. You're in a dangerous thing because I can't see them.
No,
So,
I'm kidding.
all right. So, okay. So, approval of minutes. I need a motion to accept as amended. Let me read the amendments. The December 11th minutes with these amendments. Page 2, line 7, have should be lowercase. Page 5, line 26, replace HBS with HBMS. Page 6, line 31, replace rates with rebates. And page 7, line 47, replace ray with array, A-R-R-A-Y. So I need a motion to accept as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I heard Kate as the so moved and Rob as the second. And I don't believe anybody was absent. Doesn't matter though. So all those in favor? 5-0. So motion carries. I also need a motion to accept as presented the non-public minutes of December 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Beth, and I need a second.
Second.
Second by Rob. All those in favor? Great. That's 5-2. Again, I think we don't need you to abstain, but it looks like you were supposed to, Beth. I'm not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to.
You
I'm
could have.
choosing not to.
Okay,
Yep.
that's fine. All right, so, moving on, and we are ahead of schedule. So, I'd like to welcome Lauren Gross, thank you. Sorry, Lauren.
That's okay.
I remember you from your other name. She's going to do a presentation for us on the writing curriculum that has been in the process. So thank you for being here, Lauren. Welcome. We want to hit some lights, you think?
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm Lauren Gross, and I'm an ESOL teacher in the district, and I've been working with Sheena Berg-Skog. That's great.
We give you a microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I've been working on a review of the writing curriculum in the district in grades K through 12 with Gina this year. And this is similar to the work that former math teacher at the high school, Lance Flamino, did in the 2022 through 2023 school year. I'm here to just explain a little bit about the project, talk about the work that's been done so far, and to answer any questions that you might have about this. When we began the review, we started off with sort of a guiding question to help us focus the work, and that is, how do we develop competent, confident, and eloquent writers? So we're keeping that in mind as we go through the current curriculum documents. Okay, so I thought I'd start with a little bit of a rationale as to why we're doing this now. We want to continue to improve writing instruction in the SAU as new evidence and research emerges. There's a lot of new information coming out in the field of literacy, and we want to make sure that we're implementing that and that our curriculum reflects that. We want to ensure that student learning outcomes meet or exceed the state educational standards as they traditionally have here, and also ensure that teachers are employing the best and most current instructional practices in the teaching of writing. So some of the more specific goals of the review that we're hoping to explore here is whether or not, the degrees to which the curriculum in writing instruction is vertically and horizontally aligned in SAU 41. So how do we make sure that we have this continuous instruction that spans the different grades in the different districts and schools as students move up? We also want to determine the strengths and any potential weaknesses of the writing curriculum as it stands today, and we can do that by looking at student data and talking to teachers and admin. And we also hope to determine if the curriculum is producing the desired student learning outcomes. We figure that out by looking at some quantitative and qualitative data, such as SAS scores, PSAT scores, things like that. And finally, one of the goals is to hear from teachers about their perceptions of the writing curriculum and see if there's anything they think they need to implement it the best they can. So just a really small timeline there, sorry about that. In September, I began to review the current curriculum documents that are public facing on the SAU website, and also some of the new documents that go along with the program being used in grades 4 through 6, which I can explain a little bit later if people are interested. So reviewing what we have now and what we're using. And also I began to collect some quantitative data by looking at student test scores and common assessment scores that we have in the district. In November and December, I started to have some meetings and discussions with teachers and administrators in the district, collecting the qualitative data. So far, I've met with administrators, all administrators in the co-op, and with the curriculum admin in Hollis and Brookline. And I've had a chance to talk to all English teachers in grades 7 through 12. Right now, in January and continuing into February, we'll continue to look at some qualitative data, specifically having some follow-up meetings with any teachers who want to share additional thoughts that go beyond what an opt-in optional survey will collect. So the survey has been distributed to teachers, again, only in 7 through 12 right now, and I can explain a little bit about the why of that decision in a moment. Possibly some classroom observations. It would make sense for me to probably go and see what writing instruction is looking like across the district, and maybe some teachers at those grades, like grade 7th in the co-op, 9th at the high school, maybe grade 4 in the elementary schools, to observe the grade below them, to see where students are finishing before they get to their classroom. And then finally, in March through May, to compile and share the findings, share out with teachers in every building, admin in every building, and of course with the school board and the public. So have some documents, a report, and then make recommendations, which possibly could continue some of the work into the next school year, depending where things go. Okay, so where things started was talking to the curriculum administrators in grades K through 6, Hollis and Brookline. That kind of determined the tone or the starting point for this work, because they implemented a new ELA program this year in grades 4 through 6. The program is there for any teacher in the district to use in grades K through 6, but it's only mandatory for 4 through 6 right now. So in talking with those leaders, we talked a little bit about how in some ways the writing curriculum has already been explored and reviewed there, but overall it's an English language arts program, not just writing. So we decided to give the teachers a little bit of time to implement that program and see how it's going before approaching teachers for feedback. So the decision to hold off on talking to those educators was really purposeful right now, because we didn't want to overwhelm them with planning and learning a new program, trying that out in their classrooms, and having to reflect on it right away. There's some info there about the program itself. It's not writing specific again, but there are a lot of writing components to it, and there is a companion program that could be explored if needed or wanted. So in having those conversations with the curriculum administrators, the feedback from them was overwhelmingly positive. They've been hearing from teachers that the teachers feel there's a lot of value in having a program that all teachers in a specific grade level are using more or less at the same pace. It's vertically and horizontally aligned, so we can ensure that common experience for students if they're in the same grade. Teachers know where to pick up and where the prior year's instruction left off. It avoids problems associated with, the unfortunate loss of knowledge from staff turnover, which has happened more in recent years. In some ways, it's attractive to new hires because you go in knowing that that curriculum's there and the program's there for you to learn and be trained on. And it saves teachers time. There's no need for teachers to create a lot of materials or come up with the scope and sequence and do a lot of that work. So that is the value in having a commercial program like Core Knowledge that's being used in 4 through 6. So from there, the next step was to talk to the English teachers in grades 7 through 12. This was done in December at the joint department meeting. So we had almost all of the English teachers there. And we just started by kind of opening up the conversation about asking for some beliefs and thoughts about writing instruction and the writing curriculum. And this really just opened up the floodgates, so to speak, with a lot of great ideas about what we can do to continue to vertically align and horizontally align the curriculum in the co-op. So there's a lot of enthusiasm from the English teachers to sort of revisit the documents that exist, think about some new research that might be out there, think about some other things that they might like to try and that would best help our students to be the best writers that they can be, and do some work there. So we're really in the early stages across the board here of doing the deep dive into the curriculum and examining the student learning outcomes and current research. But there is some enthusiasm about the work and seeing what we can do to make our writing programs even stronger than they are right now. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'm happy to clarify anything.
Are there any questions?
So the CKLA is being used in K through 6, and then that's not available.
So it's currently only being used in 4 through 6. It's optional for K through 3 this year, just for the pilot year, but next year it's mandatory. They do have a program for grades 7 and 8. They do have one, yeah. Yep. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Just so the public knows, so we're one of the few school districts, I think, that require a writing, half year of writing for our graduation. I think is that, I don't know how many schools do, I know that's kind of unique to us. So do all of our English teachers actually teach a section of that, or is that all, is that just a few teachers?
It's usually just a few. I believe this year there's 3 teachers assigned those classes, but we were looking at this more big picture across the department.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's what I was wondering, like
Yeah.
all the English classes. It wasn't, it's not just about the writing classes.
No, it's not just about that. It's about all the courses, especially in grades 9 through 11 at the high school. By grade 12, there's more elective choices. So there's some writing instruction components, but not quite as much by that point.
And when you say you're looking at like assessments, is that, are you actually looking at writing pieces too, or are you really just looking at standardized tests?
Oh no, we hope to look at actual writing assignments that students produce, and if we can identify some that are more common across the grade levels or courses, that would be best. So we're starting to explore what's going on this year in the classrooms and what we could use to get that information.
Great. So the next time we'll see you will be sort of in about 6 months, you think?
Yeah, probably in June, early June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. This is great.
I had one other question.
Oh,
Now
sorry.
that I was just kind of flipping through some of these
Sure.
slides that you gave us. So the K through 6 curriculum, you said none of the programs are writing specific, and I can understand why, because there's probably other things being taught at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
To the little ones. But does that get more focused and more intense as we get to 6 through 12?
It's a balance in the different classes. I think that There is more writing as you get older in the
Yeah.
higher grades, but I can't speak for sure about any sort of percentages or anything like that.
Is
Yeah.
it intended to get more focused?
I think so. I think the intention is, I think if you look at the actual curriculum documents for pretty much any of the courses in middle and high school, there is a lot more writing, and alongside that comes the direct instruction of teaching the students how to do those types of writing.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
That made me think of one other thing.
Okay.
So, you're talking to English teachers, but at the high school level, I mean, I don't want to give you more work, but touching
Yeah.
base with the social studies teachers?
Yeah,
Because
I-
obviously, that's a whole other type, that's writing too.
Of
and
course.
They're working hard on teaching writing, and maybe between the two departments, like, the messaging could be the same and, the same sort of focus.
That is a hope and goal, to do some more of that alignment across the departments and grades. And when I was talking with Tim and the other admin, we thought maybe start with English, see how things are going from there, and then expand to the humanities.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
would
the
like to
science
include
lab,
them.
report writing and all this different kind of writing
Yeah.
that kids need to understand. There's differences in tone and all of
Absolutely.
that, so.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thanks
Looking
so
forward
much.
to
Thank
hearing.
you.
Thank you. We're looking
Updates.
forward to June or
Yeah.
July,
So busy.
June's so busy. Who knows what's going to be on the agenda in June? Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so moving on. So we're supposed to go to the public hearing. What time is it?
Too early.
We're too early.
Right.
Okay, so why don't we move to the principal's reports? That sounds great. We'll start with HBMS because you're on the report first.
Sounds good.
We don't put you on alphabetically.
No, it's okay. If it was alphabetical, I'd usually be last. But that's okay. So in December, the night games, it was the 7th annual night games, which is organized by our counseling department, which is just really the week before the holiday winter break. Students and staff participate in various theme dress-up days and all sorts of different activities. I wish I could have included more pictures, but don't want to spend too much time looking at them. But there was a lot of smiles that week, laughter, and different activities thanks to our rock committee this year. One of the activities that I meant to include was each rock group created Kentucky Derby style hats for their rock teacher with materials in their classrooms, and received a lot of pictures from different rock teachers. It was really cute to see how excited they all were in creating those hats. And the big culminating part of that week is the student versus staff volleyball game. And it was really great to see our student body rally behind each other, especially some of our students who don't always get those moments to shine athletically or in those activities. Patriots Pen, congratulations to first place Arabelle Rhines, second place Eliana Medina. Sorry, first place Olivia Myers, Arabelle Rhines is second place, and Eliana Medina is third place. And then Olivia Myers actually won first place in the district round, so hers is going to the state level.
Wow, that's impressive.
Very. And it seems like every year we have at least one representative of the 8th grade class to make it to the state level. So just kind of highlighting the writing that our students are doing, but also excited to be a part of the work that Lauren's doing to see how much better we can do to prepare our students for high school writing. HBMS Spelling Bee winner, 7th grader Meredith Worthington, has the opportunity to compete at the state level in February. Good luck to Meredith. And our rock reading challenge, which I'm not sure if anybody in this room is participating in, but I know Gina was a part of one of the rock reading groups. And it was really well received by students. 94% of our students and staff managed to read at least 2 books during October and December. And the 2 winning rocks, which were Mr. Simo and Mr. Gershkoren's rocks, received a breakfast made by administration the Friday before February vacation. And it sounds like there were a lot of staff that also attended that breakfast, and it became a really nice community moment. And we're talking about other ways that we can facilitate, either breakfast or other opportunities for staff and students to build connections and relationships in non-academic times. And those are some upcoming dates, and open to questions.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to all the kids mentioned in your report. Are there any questions for Patrick? No questions? Looks great. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Patrick. High school. Mr.
All right,
Rosone.
thank you. I would like to bring your attention first to the first item on my report, which is a kudos and congratulations to our Performing Arts Department, specifically Mr. Matt Barbosa, his cast and crew for last weekend, 2 weeks ago, their performance of 12 Angry Jurors. As always, our students shine, costumes and the set were outstanding, as always. So congrats and kudos to our entire Performing Arts Department for that production. Upon request, I did provide our last 4 years of our CTE numbers. 5 years ago was the COVID year, so those numbers really didn't apply. So I just provided the most recent 4 years, and you can see there this last year, 24-25, our current school year, is just barely under average with regards to overall enrollments across the board, and you can read specifically the four receiving schools that we're currently sending to. I would like to extend a congratulations to our CAVCRON newspaper and our journalism class. Our website, the CAVCRON site, has been awarded Site Excellence by School Newspapers Online. We're very proud, not only school newspaper, but specifically our design editor, senior Xavier Lindsay, who crafted an entirely new and customized homepage. So congrats to Xavier and our entire journalism team. We do have a couple things going on at the high school in the coming days and weeks. Actually, we hosted our first ever, this was surprising to me, our first ever math meet tonight. We had a math meet going on when I left the high school just a little while ago. So, and it sounds like the preliminary results are we did really well. So congrats to our math team, and exciting to have hosted an event like that for the first time. We've got some early releases. We have our midterm exams coming up next week, which also couples with the Martin Luther King holiday on Monday. And then we have our 8th grade parent info night. So we will be sending out information to our 8th grade parents. We'll be welcoming them to the high school on February 11th, the evening of February 11th. I would also like to bring your attention to the overnight field trip request form for our robotics team. Once again, our robotics team will be traveling within New England for competitions this year. New England first made some adjustments to their tournament schedule, which resulted in the cancellation of the event at the North Shore in North Reading that we usually attend. And there's a Type 2 overnight field trip request form that has our group traveling to Connecticut, specifically Waterbury, and I was hoping to have the board vote on that event tonight, and I'm certainly open to any questions or comments on any part of the report.
Tim, did you mention the We the People thing?
Sorry, I did not. I was remiss. It'll end up in my board report. I'll provide a formal report next month, but our AP government students traveled up to Concord this past week. I know some people in the room did take part in the practice rounds at the high school, but once again, our AP government students competed in the We the People competition, and they won the state competition. They will be, they have been invited to attend the competition in Washington, D.C. Later on this spring. I believe the dates are in April. And I'll be bringing that request forward for travel again, or the notification of the travel again, because it's the same trip as last year. But congratulations to Mr. Duval, our entire AP government class. If you haven't ever sat in on one of those panels in the practice rounds, I am always thoroughly impressed with the knowledge and abilities of our students around the U.S. Constitution, and it is not at all surprising that they came home champions once again this year. They really are very well versed in every and all things U.S. Constitution, and certainly once again make me very proud of our school and our offerings.
Thank you. Congratulations to them and to all mentioned. And to the Performing Arts Department and all of that. Are there any questions for Tim on his report?
Can I just ask a clarifying question, because I know I get asked all the time, but we have an early release for the for the district on the 17th.
Yep.
On the 27th, it's just the high school.
That's correct. Yep.
And then on February 11th, it's the district. Because I think
That's
it was in
correct.
your report. I just want to make sure because
Yep.
it was mentioned in
So the 17th
reports. Yep.
of January.
Yep.
And the 11th of February
Are for
both
everybody.
one of the six
Pre-scheduled,
early
yeah.
releases for the entire SAU.
Yep.
The one on the 27th is the first day of the
Third quarter.
second semester, third quarter, which has always been an early release for the high school. Last year it coupled with one of the district days, so it was kind of absorbed
okay,
and hidden.
that's right. Okay, thank
But
you.
this year it did not align with one of our district days, so it is a standalone high school only early release on the 27th.
Thank you. Just it popped up in both the reports, but a little different. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. And so, Tim, you're gonna wanna vote on this, and the only real difference between this, trip is the destination.
That's correct. Yeah,
Correct.
it's an overnight trip.
Because
it's
it's in a
around the
diff-
same time frame as our usual event in the spring, but the venue has changed this year to
Okay.
Waterbury, Connecticut.
So we'll put that under a deliberative item. All right, thank you very much. And now, could someone do the athletics report?
I can do athletics. I'll keep rolling here. So our winter sports teams at the high school are all underway. Girls and boys basketball teams are both having competitive seasons at the time of this report, both with 3-2 records. And I do believe have a couple more wins since this was written. Girls gymnastics team has participated in 3 meets. Our tri-op ice hockey team is off to a great start at 4-1. That's Merrimack and Derryfield joining us this year. And our ski team, same thing, is off to a really good start, with the girls finishing in second and the boys in third in their first meet. Swim team hosted a meet this past Sunday, and our girls finished second. Boys finished second and girls finished first. And our indoor track team is once again competing at a high level with several individuals heading to the state meet. HBMS athletics, we have a number of teams nearing the conclusion of their season, including the boys and girls basketball teams. Sounds like our wrestling team is off to a good start and looking to defend their Tri-County Championship on February 2nd up in Goffstown. Looks like we hired a girls middle school lacrosse coach, Dave Rodell. And we have a number of open positions that we are currently accepting applications for. I just want, once I know the football head coach, just an update on that. We're currently interviewing. We had interviews today. We'll continue the interview process throughout this week for the varsity head football coach. So that's
And
process is underway.
The person who did it last year was an interim position.
That's correct. Yep, just the 1 year.
Okay, any questions on athletics? It's surprising to me in January that we're already talking about do you mean they've qualified for states already? Like the track, you said the indoor track?
Yeah, so
they-
track's one of those ones where it is a set time. So
Right, so they I
You
know,
can
so they
qualify
qualify,
for-
you can qualify at the first meet of the season.
potentially,
Okay.
yeah. But that all being said, the indoor track season does wind down fairly early with then state meets and then
Right, okay.
then you have meet of champs and then New England's, etc.
I remember. Yeah, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so we've gone through all the reports at 6:28, so we still have 2 minutes. So I think we need to wait 2 minutes.
6:29.
You can go over the rules
Okay,
for the public hearing.
Sure.
And then after you go over the rules, I think it'd be time to be able to
Okay.
motion recess.
so in a couple of minutes, we will be motioning to go into recess and go into a public hearing related to our special meeting on January 30th. For anyone who'd like to speak during that, so a public hearing is not a time where the board actually has a lot of commentary. It's really a time for the board to take input from the public on whatever the item is that we're presenting. And so, if you want to speak, you need to come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, be respectful, stick to the topic at hand, and that's pretty much it, right? Are those rules? Did I miss any rules? That's the rules, right?
All the biggies.
Did I cover the most? I don't have it written down, so, okay. So that being said, we can't open the public hearing until look at that, it's 6:30. So I need a motion that the board would recess until the conclusion of the public hearing on the proposed warrant articles for the January 30th, 2025 special meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Kate, seconded by Beth. And so I need a vote. Are there any comments on that? I guess not. Please no. Okay. Okay. Any comments? No. All those in favor? We don't need the roll call for this. This is just 9. Okay. 5-0. So we are now in recess at 6:30. And at this point, I would like to call to order the January 15th, 2025 public hearing. If there's anyone in the public who would like to speak, are we going to review the Articles of Agreement? Do we need to talk about that at all, Mr. Corey, or just take input?
You can outline the two that will be discussed.
At the meeting?
Correct.
Okay, so on January 30th, we'll be discussing 2 articles. It's a district meeting. One is to clarify the definition of capital expenses, and the other is to continue the current apportionment formula. Article 1 will be to amend the capital articles of agreement to clarify definition of amend the articles of agreement to clarify definition of capital expenses. And the article reads as such, with the strikeouts, that capital expenses of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District payable in each fiscal year shall be apportioned based on the average daily membership and equalized value according to the table below. We're adding this phrase, capital expenses shall include the cost of acquiring land and buildings for school purposes, the construction, furnishing, and equipping of school buildings and facilities, and the payment of the principal and interest on any indebtedness which is incurred to pay for the same, or which is assumed by the cooperative school district, including but not limited to the principal and interest of bonds and leases under RSA 33:7-E. And then Article 2 is to continue the current method of apportioning expenses in the Articles of Agreement. And just to see if the district will vote to continue the current apportionment formula to set forth in the Article 4 of the Articles of Agreement of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District. So that's what the special meeting will be on. Is there anyone here that needs to speak? Okay, great. Seeing no public comment, I am going to close the public hearing at 6:32. And we are going to come out of recess, and we've set aside a half an hour, so that would mean that we could open the floor for public input at 7:15, or I can open the floor for public input now and then close it a half an hour after our designated time, which would be 8:15 or the end of our meeting.
Correct.
So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open the floor for public input. If there's someone out there who would like to speak, you're welcome to come down, and we will entertain your comments prior to the either 8:15 or the end of our meeting, whichever comes first.
Or 7:45.
Sorry, no, because we're the 7:45. Why did? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
A half hour, not an hour.
Oh yeah, half an
Yeah.
hour. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
7:45 or the end of our meeting. Thank you. I'm so thankful for your help. Okay.
All good.
So now we are moving forward to the discussion portion. This is like, we're in a scramble today. Discussion portion of our meeting. So I am up to the FY25 revenue and expense report. So I believe that's Linda?
Would be me.
Linda.
Okay, so we are halfway through our fiscal year.
That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. So we are still projecting significant savings in expenses. Right now, $920,380 out of our $31 million budget. Some key drivers to those savings are coming from hiring savings and vacancies. We've had special education placement changes resulting in savings in our out-of-district services. We are having significant projected savings in utilities in the oil expenses due to our conversion from oil to propane at the high school. We also, in our facilities line, were able to purchase some of our FY25 budgeted maintenance items last year in FY24, which saved us over $100,000 in this year's budget. We've got bus and vendor transportation savings, and then finally, we're currently not planning to use the $125,000 contingency fund at this time. On the revenue side, we're projecting to receive $223,000 more than our budget. which includes special education aid, 77,000 higher than our budget, and we've had more students coming in paying tuition, which is a $30,000 higher than budget amount. So, putting it all together, we have a projected unreserved fund balance of $1,036,691. And after setting aside the money for the maintenance trust, retained fund balance, and contingency fund for next year, we have a projected fund balance of $271,691.
Great, thank you
That
very much.
wraps up second quarter. So, any questions?
Can I ask why we're receiving more in special ed aid?
So I had done an estimate, based on, like, I have to estimate a year in advance,
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much so based on the estimate. I try to be conservative, just in case, and so we wound up getting more, and we were fortunate because special ed aid was actually reduced this
Well,
year.
that's why I was
But this
asking.
is the only district that's happened with, so
Okay.
that was based on estimates,
Well done.
so thank you. Sorry.
Great, thank you. Thanks, it looks great. Any other questions on the budget? On the revenue expense report, sorry, not the budget. No, okay, seeing none. Let's move forward to the next thing on our agenda. And that is budget and new items.
In your board packet, you were provided both the Excel spreadsheet and the new items. I'm going to start working off the last page of the Excel spreadsheet for folks. On that page, we are showing an operating budget of $31,160,427. That is $99,035.52 below the guidance request from the co-op budget committee. So we have achieved guidance. The big thing I wanted to outline with the board on this page is just to make it clear, right now, because we have the boiler funded in the budget, which is an item of $915,000, the operating budget is an increase of 6.34%. If the community were to support the lease proposal for $441,000 that is going to be on the warrant, that $915,000 would be removed on the floor, and that means this operating budget would come in at just over 3% at 3.05%.
That's the number all the way down at the bottom.
That's all the way down in the bottom right-hand corner. So that provides you with that differential for the boiler being in the budget, because we are in desperate need of a boiler for the middle school, and that's why it was funded within the budget. But if the item is passed through the warrant, then that motion would be made on the floor to remove those funds and have 3.05% as the increase. In terms of any questions on that before I move on to new items?
And we have, budget committee agrees with that strategy?
Correct.
They do? Okay.
Yeah. In terms of that, they knew that the board was going to put it in the budget, and that the plan is, if the warrant article passage, which will be discussed
come
before
out.
the operating budget, it'll be removed, and then we have what I'll say, a very reasonable increase of 3.05.
Yeah.
And from a standpoint of me personally, in my time here, an item like a boiler, which are probably a 25 to a 40-year life, typically has been done through a warrant article.
Yes.
So this is not something that we would normally do through the budget, but it's imperative that we replace the boilers at the middle school. We're already seeing the benefits of going to propane at the high school. And for community members not aware, this would allow the high school, middle school, both Hollis schools, the town of Hollis and the town of Brookline to all order their propane through the school district,
Yeah.
which gives us great buying power, and we're really starting to see that savings as a result.
And a lot of that was foundational to our understanding when we started the facilities committee.
Correct.
That's kind of square one. It's like, how are we gonna handle the boilers? We'd like to put it into a bond with the regular updates, but it's essential, so we have to have this other approach.
Right, we're at a
Yeah.
point with the middle school boiler, which is approaching, I think it's 35 years old. that it's very, very difficult to get the parts.
Yeah.
And it could force us to be down for a period of time. And it has no redundancy,
No.
and we don't have any power plant. So with the new proposal that's put through, if a boiler went down, we would still be able to run school because it could all run off the other boiler.
Right.
It's very similar to what we've done in the Hollis School District at Hughes.
And we have the capability at the high school currently.
Correct,
So
yes,
this is really the only school in the district that has that exposure
correct.
right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Moving on with the board's permission to new items. There has been no changes since the last time, so I'm not gonna go through item by item. But this budget contains the academic and personnel needs that we requested that made it through the 4 rounds. The special ed personnel, which allows us to address special education costs in district. And I'd like to give an example of that I just completed for one of our other districts, Brookline. We have started through Lauren's leadership self-contained programs in the elementary levels that continue through the co-op. Presently, we have approximately 12 to 15 students in our elementary self-contained program. If we were forced to place those into out-of-district placements, because we didn't have those services in place, that cost would be $3 million. By having the in-house programming and hiring our own BCBA, speech and language and that, we spend $879,000, so we have a cost avoidance. I won't say it's a savings, because we don't really see the money, it's a cost avoidance. The other big piece that really is starting to pay great dividends, if over next summer, we have a child move in that fits into these program dynamics, the increased cost of the program is $19,000, as opposed to the $200,000 to $400,000 that it would cost me if it was an out-of-district placement. And that programming continues right through. We're making adjustments as we move forward for the middle school and the high school. Okay. Are there any questions on anything in the new items?
No, we've looked at this a couple of times, so if it's the same.
Yep.
I do have to always, every year I comment on the fact that it's laid out so clearly in front of us, what has been requested, what has been cut, what has risen to the top, and it's so important for us to pay attention to what those requests are, because we tend to see them come back. If they're not funded this year, they might be requested again next year, and I just think this process works really well, and I encourage anyone in the public to take a moment and get onto our website and go to our agenda and look at the rounds, because that really spells out the process and the fact that, we really are carefully kind of sifting through all of this. You, the budget committee, your team, and you all need to be commended for that, because it's great work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Okay, so, the floor was open for public input. I've seen a couple members of public come in. The public hearing ended. There was no one here during the public hearing related to the warrant for the special meeting, but we are open for public input for our general meeting, and we'll take public comment on anything that you feel you need to. So I'm inviting, if you're here to make public comment, please feel free to rise and just let us know if that's something. We're open until 7:45 for public comment. Okay? All right, thank you.
Super.
All right, are you set? No more questions on that one? Great. So, Budget Committee update is going to not happen, I don't think, unless there was someone, Tom's not here, so. I didn't get usually he'll send me a little note, so we're gonna skip that tonight. So facilities update, this is the facilities meeting, committee.
We didn't really meet in January, so there's not any new elements from any recent
Great.
meetings. I don't know if
I
if
do
you
have
other
the
things you wanna
update
speak to.
that was asked for regarding the solar.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's being passed around came to me today. We've been working diligently with the EEI to get these solar estimates, and I'll kind of walk you through this and then take any questions. First of all, we were able to confirm with a structural engineer that solar could be used on the locations that we were targeting. which was specific portions of both the middle school and the high school roofs. So that can be done, and that could happen now, even though we know in the future we need to do some roof replacement at the middle school. But the middle school roof, the major section is already included in this year's budget. So obviously the plan would be to start at the high school, whose roof is complete, and then move to the middle school, doing the sections that would be in the new roofing section as well. The warrant article would be a 15-year lease, and the total project cost for the solar would be $2,216,155. That total project cost would be eligible for a federal grant under the Inflation Reduction Act of $565,000. We are required to put the total amount on the warrant. We can't do the reduction
Net it
of
out.
the
Yeah.
project, because there's no guarantee. As we know, we're changing administrations, and everything that we've been told is the program will continue, and we believe that, but we're not able to just take 565 off the 2,216,000 and put that forward. The annual savings, we're projecting $142,000 in annual savings on electric because of the solar, and these would be rooftop mounted units. And that would offset approximately 90% of our electricity costs at both the high school and the middle school. And we would have a total energy savings produced for the lifetime of these solar units of approximately $4 million. The 15-year lease is what we targeted because it would be cost neutral. Because in that first year, obviously, we don't know if the voters are going to pass or not pass the article. So that money for the energy is still in the budget. If the article were to pass, we would be making a lease payment of the amount, and we would use the energy savings amount and use the rebates when they came in. So we do anticipate, if the rebates come in, a number of years being covered through the rebates of the project.
Okay. Are there any questions on that? Okay. So, all right. I mean,
I would just add that.
comments, questions?
If I might,
Sure.
I would just
Please
add
do.
that we kind of structured this recommendation for the board. And it was my feeling that the committee felt that this was the most flexible, the most cost-effective, the most impact to getting the schools kind of forklifted into where they need to be. So, and we kind of led with the idea of being net zero, no net new cost to the taxpayer to do that. So.
And I know that Tom Solon sent an email, kind of questioning another method, which would be to have the group that's installing them cover the cost, and then our savings would pay them back. But then we don't get to reap the benefit of the $565,000 rebate, is my understanding on that.
Correct.
And that means that the overall cost of the district in the long run will be more.
Correct. We don't get the rebate, and we don't own what would be on our roofs, which
Right.
can cause some problems because the company would own the solar panels because we're just allowing them to use the roofs to generate that. The other piece is when a company's willing to come in and expend their funds to do something on your roofs, even though we are going to get a benefit, they're still going to be making a profit. So this way, by purchasing them, we're taking back the full profit over time, or the full cost avoidance
Yeah.
that they will provide for us.
And then we're even less married to them in the long run. If something goes wrong, we could
Correct.
bring in another company to take a look at the things, and
Correct.
we own them ourselves.
The other thing I did have, Gina and I met with the Hollis Conservation Committee. They support the solar going on the roofs. We had a quick discussion about a solar field, just because what that would mean to Beaver Brook and potential impacts that would have. So they're in support of the solar panels being on the roof. And we are it's very interesting since this has made our website and that we've had a number of companies reach out to us with a variety of proposals. So as we go through the process further with the facilities committee, we'll be able to kind of really sift through and find out which is going to be the best proposal for SAU 41.
Are there any
Awesome.
other comments, questions? Okay, so, I need a motion to approve the recommendations of the facility committee to move forward the proposal to install solar panel rooftop arrays at the middle school and high school at a cost of $2,216,155.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Beth, and this would be to move it forward to the warrant, right?
Correct.
For the voters to vote on. I think, just if I can make a comment, that I think we have to give people an opportunity to make this choice. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It seems like a really fiscally responsible thing to present to our constituents to let them decide, so,
Yeah, I think the emphasis has to be on the net neutral,
right.
the fact that it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big piece, and I like the idea of bonding this, and then it's a solar package, and the community gets to decide, is that what they want on their schools, or they don't want it? And it doesn't impact the elements that we need for the schools, like the air handlers and the boilers, and
Right.
so we broke that out. I
Yeah.
think it's problematic when we bundle it, because people might be for one thing and not another.
Correct.
So it gives, I think, a nice granularity.
Yeah.
So-
If you want, you could come, you're welcome to come up to the mic if you'd like to speak. Just because if you wanna come to, if you'd like, no, you're
No,
fine.
it's
okay. No,
We're-
you're
Public
absolutely-
input's open and we'll just be a little bit
Yeah.
flexible this time because we're into such a
And
cold
it
place.
gives people
Yes.
at
Right.
home the opportunity to hear you.
But they can't hear you if you're over there, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Michael Bates, 26 South Merrimack Road. The cost of his solar package was what, 2 million, roughly ballpark,
2.2.
2.2 million.
2.2, yeah.
And you're estimating 142,000 savings per year, which from experience is always on the optimistic side because it makes it seem more palatable. But what's the payback on this, the break even on this to recuperate the costs?
We're projecting just over 10 years.
Okay, but if it's 1.4 million, if it's 142,000 per year saving, and it's 2.2 million.
But we'll get 500.
Plus you got the bond cost on top of the 2.2, because there's interest. How can it be a 10-year payback? Doesn't seem to make sense.
I can look at the calculation again with EEI, the
All right.
company, but it was approximately the same that we did in the Hollis School District, because what they typically don't do is the cost escalation of electrical costs. So they predict the rate at this year's cost, and it's gonna go up by some percent. So that 142 is gonna become X, and then the next year,
Right, so you're saying a 10-year payback, okay.
So the
Yeah.
thing you have to remember too is the 2.2, you have to subtract $565,000 in potential, in a rebate that we're expecting.
Is that guaranteed rebate, or is that just assuming, hoping, fingers crossed, the
It's,
rebates?
unless the federal government was to change their program.
I mean,
that
look
is-
what they're doing with the electric cars, so some of those rebates are going away now,
I-
so
I don't
can't
dis-
take that to the bank.
It's not supposed to go away
right.
before the bond is
Okay,
voted
so
on.
$2.2 million.
Minus
Yes,
five-
minus the
$2.2 million.
516, it'd be about 1.7.
Right,
Okay.
net, if you get the federal
yes,
grant or
Right,
rebate.
so I
whatever.
think, and I must say that I can't imagine EEI didn't calculate the payback minus the rebate.
All right,
So that's where you're coming to your 10 years. Now, in Hollis, we projected 10 years, and it was 7.9 for the payback.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It's freezing out there.
So, are there any other comments or questions on that? I'm gonna call a vote. All those in favor? 5-0, motion carries. Okay.
And just so the board knows, you'll have what I'll call another bite at the apple, because you have public hearing.
Right.
And at the public hearing, if there were enough citizens that showed up, you could choose to, if you so choose, remove the article from the warrant. That's your last night to do that.
And we can also, the article will go on and we'll take another vote on whether we support it or not.
Correct.
So if you don't, it can be a 4-1 vote or a 5-3, or
correct.
5-2 vote or something like that, so.
I always think it's a good opportunity to offer it to the legislative body.
Right, let them decide, that's great. Okay, next deliberative item, is, do not let me forget this, don't let me forget this. To see what action the board will take regarding the business administrator's recommendation of the special education van lease. So, did you wanna talk about that?
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you got it.
Lauren, go ahead.
So we currently have one special education van at the high school. We have two vans that service our CTE programs. But for special education, we have 3 programs where the students go out for either community experiences, vocational opportunities, et cetera. Those programs are growing. The students that we have in there, we really have a need for an additional van. It will also allow us to utilize the van for our choice program, which will expand to 4 programs that could potentially use the vans, which is why we had put it in the budget for last year. And now Kelly just needs final board authorization for the final paperwork so we can get the van.
Yeah, 'cause this was
in
approved.
motion. This was
Right.
approved last year.
It was approved
So
in the budget, but
looking
we're
for-
finally
yes,
ready to
now
actually
You guys have to actually
get- right.
Give the final approval so we can have the van delivered.
So she can sign the lease purchase documents. Are there any questions on that?
No,
Okay,
that's
so
how
I
got it.
I'm glad, sounds
I
good.
know, very excited.
So I need a motion to authorize Kelly Sealy, Business Administrator, to sign the lease purchase documents as provided by GM Financial for the new special education van lease purchase as approved during the 2024 annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kate, seconded by Rob. Are there any more comments on that? All right, all those in favor? 5-0. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward, we're going to take this policy menu and see if we can approve the recommendations identified in the policy memo as presented. That's what we're gonna do. So,
Love it.
Gina's not here to present the policy memo, that's okay. So why don't we put a motion on the floor to approve the recommendations, and then we can talk about it, and if we have to pull the motion, we'll pull the motion. Does that sound like that'll work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the recommendations identified in the policy memo as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Beth, second by Kate. Okay. So policy committee, am I speaking to these? Are you speaking?
I can speak.
Okay, great.
So in IHBAR, we have discussed this is third reading and adopt. This is the program, our programs for principals with disabilities. Need to go back to that. What's the R stand for?
It's like.
It's like procedures.
It's procedures,
Yeah,
like
procedures.
regulations, I think is what it says.
Regulations, thank you, okay.
Right.
Why am I
So
missing
that's
that
a,
word?
so that's a third reading and adopt, so we've gone over that already
Yeah.
twice. Mhm.
Second reading and adopt with no changes are the minutes and BEDG minutes and JI student rights and responsibilities. We would like to get those approved, and we're presenting IKL, academic integrity and honesty, for third reading with substantial changes. Mr. Grisone has met with staff and can you speak to
Yeah,
this?
Tim, if you
Sure.
could just summarize what's happening in that document, because we did bring it for 2 readings that it pretty much stayed the same, and then we completely redid it for third. So those people who are not on the committee could really,
Yep, so originally it came through from Carol and her group, the network administrators in the state. They put together a version that we then ran through our building level leadership team, all our department chairs, our academic teachers, as well as our school librarian, who's well versed in this area, including the middle school staff and the middle school administration. So we also looked at the New Hampshire School Board Association's sample policy and took all of that into account and developed what we feel is pretty comprehensive, covers a wide variety of issues that all schools deal with, and then also puts an emphasis on human intelligence. There's a lot of there are a lot of challenges out there with regards to AI, with regards to academic integrity and honesty, that while we may have the best of intentions in policing, can sometimes be very challenging. So we put an emphasis on what we value with human intelligence, the value of the learning experiences that our teachers create for students, and tried to craft a policy that we feel the board, our administration and the board, or at least those on the policy committee, feel like represents our values in academic integrity and honesty. So it's pretty comprehensive. I think it's very well thought out and encompasses not only the general issues that all schools and educators face, but some specific things that I think maybe our teachers deal with, and we wanted to address those as well.
And Mr. West worked on this as well, and I think it's a very, you've done a great job putting this together, because I do think it emphasizes what we value as human intelligence, but it also points out, you know, with AI and all of that new stuff that's coming around, we need to kind of keep our eye on.
Yeah, there will be
What's
things at students' disposal. There'll be things at everyone's disposal to use and to produce work. At the same time, what we're doing in education is the value of the learning
Trying to
experience
encourage them
and
to
encourage
do
that
it themselves. Right.
process.
So that probably will be a fourth or fifth reading.
Yeah, I was just gonna
because-
say, because of the changes
Right.
in third reading, we felt
Oh.
not to adopt, but give it more soak time
'Cause
and
all
go
the
to a
changes.
fourth,
I think we'll go through
Correct.
two more.
We'll probably go to
a fifth
I would
reading.
say fifth read, yeah.
Wow,
And
you
it
don't
gives
the
see that
public
very
enough
often,
time
but
to
it does.
Look
In-
at it, cause this
yeah.
is really gonna
Yeah,
affect
it's a
the
lot.
students and the parents, and they need to.
And in terms of process,
Understand it.
because we're approving this in a total memo, if there are board members who had suggestions that they wanted to make changes to, the way I would do it is, instead of trying to change or amend the policy, I would ask that you give us the comments and we'll take it back to the policy committee and see
Yeah.
if we can make amendments
Right.
that way. So if there's anyone, I mean, 3 of us are on the policy committee, so basically Kate and Beth, if you see anything in there that you feel like
Let
needs
us
to be
know.
changed, either tell us now or, you know, shoot us some information. But this is just third reading. We hope the public will take time to read this, and if there's any comments, that they bring it forward. All right, so moving on to the next ones. Krista.
Yes, to JJJ. Just trying to bring them up individually. This had minor changes. We changed in the title from non-public students to non-public charter school and home educated pupils. We were trying to include everyone in there. We felt like the non-public students,
Sounded
I
weird.
felt it was awkward
that was
Yeah.
an
wording.
awkward transition. So, that was, I think, our only change to this.
So this would be second reading. It won't be adopted until next
No,
month.
we'll leave it.
No.
And then there's first reading with substantial changes to 3 DAF, Administration of Federal Grants, EF, Public Access to School District Records, and JICD, Student Discipline and Due Process, that were required by law. And so everyone needs to kind of look those over and take your time on those.
Yeah, we'll have another chance. We'll have another stab at that. Is there any major? Tim, didn't you work on the discipline one? Is there like a theme to that one?
Yep, so.
People should, student discipline and due process specifically. The other two are very, I don't want to say like boilerplate, but kind of like just based on law. But
So the two that are coupled are JIC and JICD.
Right.
So JIC is student conduct, which we had as part of JICD before. So we teased those two apart based on recommendations from New Hampshire School Board Association that those two become separate entities. So a lot of the changes that you'll see, at least the omissions at the beginning of JICD, ended up in JIC, and we made edits to that, and I can speak to those in a minute. I'll just stay on JICD right now, which will now be student discipline and due process. So while some of the formatting changed, we did add some content, and specifically, if you look at section B, particularly 2. As an example, under standards and procedures relative to disciplinary consequences, we added some language in here which were common practice, but did not appear necessarily in policy anywhere. So restriction from school activities as a consequence means a student will attend school and classes but will not participate in other extracurricular activities, including such things as competitions or field trips and performances. So that's something that we will work with students and families on. If we feel that, you know, the student needs to be in school, but maybe an appropriate consequence might not be, might be a restriction from extracurricular activities. That's something that has been practiced before, but not necessarily appear in policy. And this language did come from the New Hampshire School Board Association's sample policy. We refined some language around detentions, added some specifics, some specific language around teachers' discretion and teacher detentions, administrative discretion, administrative detentions. A large majority of the language around out-of-school suspensions already existed. Maybe some minor changes in languages, but the formatting changed. So what you see there that's underlined as new language appeared in different spots in JICD already, but it was in a different section under different headings. So we struck through those sections and just added the language here. It makes the policy read more smoothly in its current format. So we added it as new language, even though a lot of the core principles that exist there were already in JICD. And then I'm just going to bring your attention to JIC, which is the new student conduct policy, which we did not have any. So this is a brand new policy. It was embedded within JICD. And I'll just touch briefly on kind of the stance and the philosophy here, that while student conduct does have a variety of disciplinary consequences that we outline very clearly in JICD, which these two are clearly linked. This also goes beyond just the student discipline and discusses age-appropriate system of supports, intervention strategies to include parent conferences, counseling, peer mediation, with the overall goal of educating students and improving behaviors. So much more an all-encompassing, well-rounded approach in working with students, which is what we do. So it was something I felt, or we felt, was appropriate, matches our practices, and also required by law now that JIC is separate. So this is for first read and is entirely new in its existence as a standalone policy.
Great. Are there any questions on those two or feedback for the policy committee on those?
Different one. I just
Okay.
had a random question, but no one.
Sure, you can go to another one. We're
Sure, just, I was waiting till the end, so I wasn't
Sure.
sure, but it's just a very, very random question, but under JJJ, I know the title was changed, was there a deliberate reason to go from students to pupils? Just because I was curious about that in the definition.
We actually,
I think that language came from the sample.
it came from the sample policy.
I was just curious,
So,
because we usually like to match language, and throughout the whole thing, it's
so students.
non-enrolled students and enrolled students, and we just never, I was just
So-
curious what the intention was there, but that's all.
So we should change it back to students. So it should
I
be
would.
non-public, chartered, and homeschool students, not pupils in the title. So we'll bring that back to the policy
Thank
committee,
you.
and that'll come back for third read with that very minor change.
It's, like I said, it's minor, I just was
Right.
curious if there
Good
was an
catch.
intention.
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't see that.
Any other questions to go back to policy? So what we'll be doing is voting on all of this, and the only ones that will be adopted are the first three. IHBA-R, BEDG minutes, and JI student rights and responsibilities. Everything else are readings that we'll get another stab at next month. Sorry, did I step on your toes? Were you gonna say that?
Good job.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Exactly what I was gonna say.
All right, so if there isn't any other feedback, I'd like to, we have a motion on the table. I'd like to call the vote.
So moved.
All those,
Oh,
it's already been moved, yeah.
I just wanted to move it again.
Yes, it's been a motion,
Moved and
motion was
grooved.
made by Beth to approve the recommendations identified in the policy memo as presented, seconded by Kate. We've had the discussion, no further discussions needed. All those in favor? 5-0. Motion carries. So now I'm in a conundrum. I've been sitting here for the past 30 seconds thinking
We have
about my
the-
conundrum.
You have robotics, and then I have petition warrant article.
Okay, good, okay, because it's 7:10 and I cannot end before public input was supposed to start. Okay, that's right, I forgot. So we have this, type 2 overnight and type 3 foreign travel, type 2 overnight request form that I need a motion to approve. Okay, someone has to help me form this motion because it's not right for me. I need a motion to approve the Hollis Brookline High School's, overnight travel request for a robotics trip to Waterbury, Connecticut, Friday, March 7th through Sunday, March 9th, 2025. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I need that motion.
So moved.
Moved by Beth. Thank you. I don't really do it.
I don't have a copy of it though, so.
Oh,
I have a
sorry.
copy
Here you
so I
go.
can- Thank
Here you go.
So I can.
And,
look over it.
I need a second.
Second.
Second by Kate. So are there any comments or questions on this? As we stated earlier in the meeting, this is a similar trip to last year. It's just a different destination and it's overnight, right?
Yeah, no school time's gonna be missed. So.
Oh, thank you. That's a
Yeah,
good
they'll
question.
even, I think, right after the ballot on Friday.
Great.
No cost, sorry, I was just catching up.
No,
on the
fundraise,
cost. Thank
so
you.
they'll have no out-of-pocket costs.
Got it.
How many students are going?
I think it's 25. Let me find
It
it.
says max 24.
24.
24?
Roughly, close. That's great.
And they have all the chaperones they need. Yeah, look at, they have like
Yeah, and those are all approved.
approved volunteers.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor? 5-0, motion carries, so that sets that. And then you have some comments on some petition warrant articles.
Yes, it's part of the budget, and I missed it.
Oh.
We were moving so quick, so I just wanted, to- in your board packet, you have a draft for the warrant.
We do?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I had those.
I'm looking
Where
those
is
are
it?
the only ones I didn't use.
Under the budget and new items, there's.
Oh, thank you.
That's,
I thought it was
Oh,
crazy.
look at that.
I leave them all open and closing as we go.
so
I
just
do
Okay, I'm not crazy.
quickly
Oh, there
highlight.
it is, look at that.
Yep. Article 1 will be the boilers. Article 2 will be the operating budget. Article 3 would be the solar piece. Article 4 would be the co-op support staff associations contract. Article 5 is the SAU budget. Article 6 is the maintenance trust. Article 7 is the contingency fund, and then we get into a series of petition warrant articles. Before I move to the petition warrant articles, the articles that I've just talked about are board-sponsored articles. So after the public hearing, you could decide to change the order if you so choose. There is a requirement that leases or bonds go first because of voting requirements. But you could change any of the other items there. We have this year 5 petition warrant articles. The first one that was submitted was regarding SB 2. That is something that we have seen regularly for numerous years regarding all-day voting and moving to that form. The second one is a petition warrant article with the stated tax impact. That is requested after each of the article. It says whether it's 8 cents per thousand, $1.50 per thousand, whatever it may be, on each of the articles. The next article is a petition warrant article for Charter Commission. The administration met with legal the other day to go over these new articles, and he raised concerns about that. So he is going to be providing the board with a legal opinion for the public hearing, because a Charter Commission is not typically a petition warrant article and follows, what I'll say, a different set of rules that he is investigating, so I just wanted you to be aware of that. The fourth petition warrant article was for a budget cap. There's a concern there from legal counsel that he's reviewing, and that revolves around in the article, it says $27,000 per pupil costs. The concern is per pupil cost is defined by the state of New Hampshire. So he doesn't believe that a group of citizens has the ability to just simply assign a number to per pupil costs. So he's investigating that, and will offer feedback on that. That budget cap would be a cap on the operating budget. So that is the intent of that article, is to just specifically talk about the operating budget. And then the petition warrant article for tax cap, the language around tax caps was recently changed. So what would be decided at the meeting, if that was approved, the entire warrant would be subject to the tax cap. And that could be problematic when passing leases or bonds, or when you have a teacher's contract or a HESA contract. So I just want you to be aware of how each of those, the budget cap is on the operating budget, and the tax cap is on all the articles that are in the warrant.
It doesn't seem like the language calls that out, that it's on the operating budget.
It doesn't. It's more in discussions with legal
Yeah.
counsel, and Jim intends to kind of write you a memo. He may be attending the public hearing on February 3rd. In
That'd be
case there's
great.
question, we've asked him to check his schedule. The difficulty is that is the week for deliberative sessions.
It's crazy.
It's a crazy week, so
Crazy
like
week.
Brookline's deliberative session is that week. So Jim's and his crew of lawyers is straight out pretty much most nights that week. But he is working on that, and I should have confirmation in the coming days.
Can I just comment that I think the order that you have them in might be different than what I'm looking at. Because
Yeah.
I have SB2 as Article 10, and I
Okay.
have Article 8 is the
Yeah.
tax
I
impact
have them
statement.
different.
Yeah.
Article 9 is the commission, and Article 10 is the, so I know you're not reading from the
Right.
actual, so just
Right.
so the public's aware that the order is different than what you just said.
Right, and then the other piece is, because of the nature of some of these articles,
Yeah, but that's not
there'll be
This is
required public hearings beyond the one that we hold as a board. So on Monday, February 3rd at 6:30, we will be reviewing the petition warrant articles again. That will be at Hollis Brookline Middle School Library right here. And because we are a co-op, and these are petition warrant articles, they must also be done in Brookline. So on Wednesday, February 5th at 6 p.m., Captain Samuel Douglas Academy Library in Brookline. And we, I believe, mirrored that with the deliberative session that would follow that, so that if community wanted to come out, they would be coming out. We wouldn't be asking them to come out on two separate nights.
Oh, so that's the same night as the Brookline School District's deliberative session.
That's correct. Will be 6:30 here at the middle school for the Hollis public hearing on the petition warrant articles, and it will be 6 o'clock in Brookline at Captain Samuel Douglas Academy again on the petition warrant articles that were submitted.
And the February 3rd is also the public hearing on all of the whole
That,
thing, right?
that's correct.
Just
So-
clarifying.
So the draft warrant has the lease purchase as Article 1. Article 2 is the budget, and Article 3 is the solar
Shouldn't that be
bond, I
different?
guess.
And that may,
That's gonna need to change, isn't it?
that may be moved.
Yeah.
Right. This is Kelly's draft that we send off to legal, and then legal, because the other one in question is, we believe there may be new language of when the SAU budget has to appear on the warrant.
Okay.
But it does
So-
seem that Article 3 would have to go, because don't all bonds and leases have
Yep.
to go, so doesn't have to switch.
I believe you're going to be correct. I just know that, when we met with Jim the other day, we presented him with this, and he went away, and he will
Yeah.
provide us everything
Well,
we
he
need.
had a
to-
lot
But
of
I-
things
I
he was
would-
looking at.
Speaking as one member, I would like to see that budget right up behind the other initiatives.
Yes,
Yep.
Because
absolutely.
That's why we're there.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
night is the
Budget
budget.
should be the first thing,
Yep.
after the 2 bonds, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then,
Ed has a contract.
Well,
Right,
yes,
yeah.
of course. So those gotta be up at the top.
Now, if I'm understanding correctly, and I think I am, I hope, based on the new rules from our moderator, the petitioners of these petition warrant articles have an opportunity to discuss them at the public hearings,
Present
Correct.
them, yes.
present them, but they will not have the opportunity at our meeting.
correct.
No, they'll have 2 minutes.
Okay, like anyone else, but
Right.
that presentation
Right.
will be done at our hearings
Yeah, I mean,
on
that's
these
the-
2 dates.
That, like, when we do our public hearings, that's where we dig in and talk about detail,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And it's not a lot of time at the public meeting or the annual meeting to get into those level of details, because we only have a
Right.
few hours that evening, so.
Right.
It's, I hope they understand that their public hearing is where you wanna go and make your best effort.
Yeah.
Pitch.
And so in keeping in that theme, so who will be presenting the projects, the 2 projects, the bonds, the bond/leases, Article 1 and what will potentially be Article 2?
So Tom Solon and I have kinda talked high level about that.
Okay.
We haven't figured that out. I'm happy to do it, but I like the idea of maybe presenting it with Tom because
Sure. Great.
he can bring a lot of other detail and insight. So
But we expect that to be presented at the public hearing by the 2 people who will be, by you and, yeah,
sure,
okay.
sure.
Right. Great.
And
So
then,
we'll try to iron that out sooner rather than later.
Great.
So we know.
and the other thing is at the public hearing, we can assign who's speaking to each of the articles, so we
Right.
know that.
I know, I just was asking that one question, because
Yep.
that one should be presented at the public hearing as well, pretty clearly. And then Darlene will do the budget, and then, so, okay. So that was just kind of some housekeeping stuff. That was great. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to hearing from Jim on all of that. At this point, it is 7:20, so we're gonna end our meeting at 7:21, or if people wanna do that. I can't say what you're gonna vote on, but I assume you will. And, we have been open for the public since, 6 something, so, what time? 6:33, Dawn. We opened at 6:33. Thank you. All right, so, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Kate, seconded by Beth. All those in favor? 5-0. We are adjourned at 7:22.
Lightning.